When I was a kid growing up in Dublin, they always seemed to be digging up our road for some reason. And in the evenings, an old man would come along and he'd be there to mind the equipment overnight. And as kids, we'd always sit around chatting to him around his fire at night time, listening to the stories he'd tell us. And I ended up writing this little song about him called The Night Watchman or the Gotchy. Come in the evening when the workmen were leaving to mind all the drills and the shovels, with his black billy can and a dog he'd called Bran, and a face that was lined from life's troubles. He was the night watchman, and we'd yell, "Here's the Gotchy," when he'd call to our house for some water. And we'd follow him out with our screams and our shouts, and we'd wake the whole world with our laughter. And we were always good friends with the Gotchy, sitting under the street lights, 'cause you could always depend on the Gotchy, 'cause the Gotchy was guarding the night. Then he'd light the red lamps that sat on the planks that run along the line of old barrels, and he'd sit in his shack and we'd watch him smile back at the noise of our games and our quarrels. And then later on, when the games were all done, he'd tell us old stories and fables, and how his wife had passed on while the kids were still young, and his struggle to keep food on the table. And we were always good friends with the Gotchy, sitting under the streetlights, 'cause you could always depend on the Gotchy, 'cause the Gotchy was guarding the night. It was 10 long years since his wife passed away, though he'd learned how to manage without her. But she was his life, and there was seldom a day that he didn't miss something about her. And the kids were in England, there was no work in Dublin, though they'd come home now and then just to see him. And their kids said his name with an accent quite strange, and the loneliness stung when they leave him. And as the evening drew on, we'd drift home one by one, leaving him on his own by the fire, with only old Bran to lend him a hand while the wind whistled soft through the wires. And all through the night he'd sit under the light, with an eye out for anyone prowling, and not much would disturb his solitary world, just the sound of a lone stray dog howling. And we were always good friends with the Gotchy, sitting under the street light, 'cause you could always depend on the Gotchy, 'cause the Gotchy was guarding the night.